Hello to you. My name is Maria Kądzielska and this is Poland Daily Culture, and we continue the topic of war in Ukraine and how Polish organizations, actually in this case the church, is helping people there. With us is Rika Itozawa, the member of the Church in the East supportive organization.
Hello.
Thank you very much for coming. Rika, you are actually the right hand of a priest who's leading the supportive organization of the church in Ukraine, or in the East altogether, but right now we're talking more about the Ukraine. This is a phenomenon, but most of the Polish, a lot of Polish priests actually were working in Ukraine before the war and are working still right now. So my question is, of course, how many clergy, so priests but also nuns, are currently in Ukraine, and what's their situation?
Well, if we are talking about Polish clergy, because we have information about Polish clergy, there are about 320 of nuns, different monks of different orders, and priests, diocesan priests and priests of the orders. All of them are now in Ukraine. Some of clergy left, but even clergy who had to leave, they were, for example, they were pushed to leave from occupied territories. They are now staying in Poland or in Western Ukraine and trying to help people from there.
So basically everyone, all of them try to stay and
Yes.
try not to abandon their people.
Yes, yes. All of them are trying to stay unless they were asked to leave the territory because it was too dangerous for them and also for people.
You see more than 300 people, for 300 clergy are there?
Yes, these are Polish clergy, and we don't have much information about Ukrainian clergy because this is the structure of a Catholic Church in Ukraine. They have this information, but we don't. But I think there are much more clergy, Ukrainian clergy in Ukraine now.
I see. So there's also this element that they are kind of cooperating because, of course, there is an Orthodox church in Ukraine, but there is also a Catholic church. So a lot of Christians with different, I would say, versions are still in Ukraine, and all of them trying to support the people in these desperate conditions of war. Just asking, but altogether, do we know how many Catholics are in Ukraine?
It's hard to say because if we're talking about Catholics, there are two types of Catholics in Ukraine. There are Greek Catholics and there are Roma Catholics. If we are talking about Roma Catholics, there are about, I think it's about 1% of the Ukrainian population. And Greek Catholics, they are about 10%. So totally, there are about 10% of Catholic in Ukraine. But if we talk about
11% altogether,
yeah,
of Catholics, and some of them of the Greek Catholics, some of the Roman Catholics, and of course, but much more Christians because there is also Orthodox Church. So, what kind of help and aid is the Catholic Church providing currently in Ukraine during the war?
So I think at first they are supporting people mentally and spiritually. And now when all of those awful situations are taking part in Ukraine, many people are coming with very difficult questions, with big problems in their life. How can it be? How the God can allow this kind of things in the earth? So first of all, of course, priests and clergy, they are providing spiritual help and mental help. But of course, they are helping a lot in financial way. They're giving humanitarian aid. They're supporting people by giving them house, some flats and other things. Now there is no church in Ukraine which would not have refugees in their houses, in their parish houses, and even in a church. And even I know that some churches are used, not all of the church of course, but parts of the church are used as a warehouse for humanitarian aid.
So basically, they're trying to use their space
Yes,
in
as
every
much as
possible they can. Well, that it needs to be hard, but huge challenge for all of them. And how can we support the church in the East?
Well, of course, there are also two ways to help. Of course, we can pray for that people because, well, it maybe seems not so important, but people which are there under bombings, they are really grateful for just remembering of them, praying for them, and just staying with them spiritually. And of course, financial help now is very important. Poland have been helping so long and so great, but now basically the humanitarian aid is becoming smaller. Humanitarian aid which is coming to Ukraine is smaller and smaller. So I think now is that moment that population can help with financial support.
Well, those are two elements which, of course, we encourage all of you, the viewers of Poland Daily, to help and to provide for people, but to encourage as well a lot of people, your friends and organizations and supports, because Ukraine needs this help, and the Catholic Church of Ukraine needs this help as well, because the situation is still very dangerous, and it doesn't seem it's getting any better. So please do everything what you are able to do, and of course stay with us for another episode.